The Coffin of Andy and Leyley, one of the most controversial games that I have heard of, and today going to deep dive in this lore and try to explain the lore to you. So what's this game all about? The Coffin of Andy and Leyley is this creepy, hand-drawn horror RPG that follows two siblings, Andrew or Andy and Ashley or Leyley, as they navigate a dystopian nightmare. It's packed with dark theme, starvation, murder, cannibalism, occult rituals, you name it. But it's not just shock for shock's sake, there's a ton of depth here, and the choices you make shape the story, so click on the subscribe button, cause this story is really weird. Before we get into the story, let's talk about our main characters. Andy's the older brother. Serious, protective, and a bit brooding. He's got this dry wit, but you can tell he'd do anything for Leyley. Ashley, or Leyley, is the younger sister, impulsive, emotional, and maybe a little unhinged, but fiercely loyal to Andy. Their dynamic is intense, to say the least. They bicker, they tease, but they're each other's everything in this messed up world. First, let's rewind way back, before Andy and Leyley even existed. Their grandparents are born sometime before 1945, part of that greatest generation vibe. We don't have much on them, but growing up in tough times like wars or economic struggles probably left its mark, setting up a legacy of hardship. Fast forward to the baby boomer years, and Mr. Graves pops into the world between 1950-62, followed by Mrs. around 1958 to 1962. Here's where it gets messy. Mrs. Graves Andrew between 1973 and 1977 when she's just 15 years old. 2 years later, at 17, she gives birth to Ashley in 1975-1979. That's right, she's a teenage mom raising kids in an apartment, probably scraping by. Now, I'm not here to bash Mrs. Graves. She's a kid herself, thrust into parenthood way too young. But this sets the stage for Andy and Leyley's upbringing. Their parents are barely adults, likely overwhelmed, and that dysfunction trickles down. Andrew and Ashley, born into Generation X, are already starting life on shaky ground with a mom who's more focused on surviving than nurturing. It's not evil, it's just reality, and that reality shapes everything that comes next. Let's jump to 1983, 1987, when Andy and Leyley are kids, probably 8-10 years old. They've got friends like Nina and Julia, and life seems semi-normal until it isn't. Nina confesses she has a crush on Andrew, and Ashley flips out. She's possessive, sure, but think about it, Andrew's her anchor in a chaotic home, so she convinces him to lock Nina in a box overnight as a prank. Andrew's reluctant, but after some arguing, he caves. Tragically, Nina has asthma and suffocates. They find her dead the next day, and Ashley, she used it to blackmail Andrew, saying he can never leave her or she'll spill the secret. Dark, right? But hear me out, they're children. Kids don't grasp mortality like adults do. They mess up big time without fully understanding the stakes. Ashley's not a monster. She's a scared little girl terrified of losing her brother, the one constant in her life. Andrew's guilt-ridden, but he goes along because he loves her, and now they're tied together by this awful secret. They even make a blood oath to never tell anyone except each other. And get this, Mrs. Graves finds out and covers it up, hiding Nina's death to protect them. She doesn't get them therapy or face it head on, she buries it. That's the first lesson they learn: survival means secrets and silence. Now we're in 1990, 1993, and the siblings are teens still stuck in that apartment. Enter Toxisoda, a shady company founded by an ex-doctor that's made it big by partnering with water companies. Around July, they slap a quarantine on the Graves building, claiming a parasite outbreak in the water. But it's a lie. They're starving tenants to harvest their organs. The government's in on it, spreading propaganda, and the siblings' parents ditch them, thinking they're safe since they didn't drink the water. Andy and Leyley, they're trapped, left to fend for themselves. Imagine that you're a teenager, locked in, no food, no help, and your parents just bounce. By September, October, the other tenants are dying, begging for aid that never comes. The siblings are starving, watching famine and cabin fever tear everyone apart. Then their next-door neighbor, cultist, dies in a botched demon summoning. Ashley looks at his corpse and says, "Meat." They butcher him and eat him. Andrew's reluctant, struggling with the horror, while Ashley shows no remorse, even taunting him. Okay, yes, cannibalism is extreme, but what else could they do? They're not gleefully chowing down, they're desperate. The guy's already dead, they didn't kill him. In a world where a corrupt company's starving you for profit, eating a corpse isn't sadism, it's survival. Andrew's guilt shows he's not okay with it, but Ashley's practicality keeps them alive. You can't judge them by normal standards when their reality's this twisted. The next morning, they're cleaning up the bloody mess when Warden Malcolm shows up. He's suspicious, finds Ashley hiding, and Andrew kills him with a cleaver in a panic. They're not murderers by nature, it's fear driving them. From there, they decide to escape. They take out another 10 who's been causing up to the wardens and sacrifice a guy named Dave to a demon, earning Ashley a trinket that promises clairvoyant dreams. Brutal, sure, but these aren't innocent bystanders. They're part of the system oppressing them. They finally break out, hop on a bus, and the apartment burns down, likely toxic soda covering its tracks. Oh, and the company sends a hitman after them, so even freedom comes with a target on their backs. Every violent act here is about survival, not malice. They're fighting a machine that wants them dead. What's a few bodies when it's kill or be killed? Now in episode 2, they're hiding in a motel. That night, Ashley's trinket gives her a dream a masked figure stabs them both. She wakes Andrew, and they bolt, narrowly dodging the hitman from her vision. While waiting outside, they spot a cultist in robes like their neighbors. Andrew follows him, sneaking into a cult meeting where a summoning fails, and the leader name drops, Lord Unknown, the demon they've tangled with. He wants more info but has to leave. Later they lure the hitman out, kill him, and steal his car. Strapped for cash, they head to their parents' new house to steal money. On the drive, Ashley dreams again. The demon says the trinket needs more souls to recharge. They're not just running from danger now, they're tied to this occult mess. Killing the hitman, self-defense again. He was there to end them. Breaking into their parents' place. Their folks abandoned them. They owe them nothing. They sneak into the house. But Mrs. Graves comes home early, catches them, and reluctantly lets them stay. Over dinner, Ashley suggests killing their parents for the demon's souls. Andrew hesitates, but she's adamant. Look, their parents left them to die. Ashley's anger isn't irrational. That night, Andrew dreams of his ex, Julia, and a young Leyley, highlighting their deep, messy bond. Ashley wakes him, and they tie up their parents for the ritual. Here's where the story splits into two routes, decay and burial. In decay, trust falters. If you don't let Andrew stay alone with his parents, or if he accepts Mrs. Graves' offer of a new life without Ashley, their relationship cracks. They still sacrifice and eat their parents, cold, detached, but Ashley dreams alone, depending on choices. She sees Andrew kill her, shoots him to escape. They dump the bones off a bridge, a revolver and cleaver in the car hinting at more to come. It's grim, but their parents' betrayal justifies it. They're lashing out a world that's hurt them. Trust issues don't erase that pain. In Burial, if Andrew rejects Mrs. Graves' offer, she accuses him of a sexual relationship with Ashley, shocking them both. They complete the ritual, eat their parents, and fall asleep holding the trinket. Ashley's dream reveals her codependency rooted in their mom's neglect. Two sub-routes emerge. Friendship sub-route, solving the dream's puzzle a certain way ends with no vision. They dump the bones and carry on as siblings, dark but stable. Love sub-route. The other way implies an incestuous future. Andrew's flustered, Ashley teases, and they dump the bones with a twist of intimacy. It's uncomfortable, but their isolation and trauma make it less shocking. Two broken souls clinging to each other. That's the full lore, theorized bits and all, laid out. Thanks for sticking with me through this wild ride, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more upcoming stories.